we are rolling. Welcome back to the ARTFUL Podcast, guys. It's Matteo, your host, and today we're gonna have another artist with us and she will talk about her practice and how she's dealing with the whole lockdown and how her practice evolved during time and the whole working and following her passion as an artist, how she managed to do that. And anyway, we're still in lockdown. Nothing really changed. It's been 2 more weeks for us. I live in Bristol, and we've been locked for 2 more weeks because we're in tier 3, and it's not a strict lockdown, to be honest. I see people around pretty freely walking around. Been most of the time locked in my house anyway. I've been working, painting. I did finish a painting recently, was a couple of days ago. And I think it was part of my incomplete portrait series. And I think my next step for this series will be going on canvas, because I think I finished experimenting with paper and how to approach this kind of like different techniques, different way of approaching my paintings, which I usually it's a different process usually, and I learned quite a lot, which was the aim of this series. It was not to produce amazing paintings, even if I really like them, the one they came out. Even if they were on paper, so they were not, for me, as polished and how they could be on canvases. And I think that will be the next step, bringing those what I learned from this series to canvas, and kind of mixing my usual way of working, so more finished, more defined, more details, and with the unfinished way of doing those paintings. And I really enjoyed the process. It was really mindless. I was not thinking about, I was just doing stuff, and it was really, I was just the only few things I was looking for, it was composition, and I think it will help just the painting to come out in a way that makes sense. And it was just experimenting all the way, and it was fun. I really enjoyed it. It was really good. And yeah, so anyway, with this studio chart, it's Karen, and she does portrait mostly, and I really suggest, I will put her detail down below in the description. I really suggest to follow her, and she does really delicate pencil drawings. They're really nice. They're really nice to look at. So go check it out. Before we start, I've got another YouTube channel. It's only under Matteo Lorusso Art. If you search for it, I just start doing some tutorial, like really easy beginners tutorial. Then I suggest to people to have a look at. They're really fun, nothing too complicated. And me and my brother, we launch some merch, and they are basically, we start with some masks So we're doing some design mask with my paintings. We put my paintings on the mask, so it doesn't have to be that dreadful uncool mask to wear. They're really nice. They're really, really good product. We spent months to look materials and what company that could do a really good mask for us, and I think we come out with a really good product. So go have a look. The company is called ARTFUL, and you can search for artful.com, and you can find our website and go have a look. It's really important for us. We really spend so much time on it, and we're having so much fun doing this. So have a look, have fun with the mask, and don't forget to subscribe, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, share it with everyone, like the video. It will really help the channel. So, and before we start, I just want to let you know, guys, that soon we're gonna have visual. So meaning we're gonna have camera recording. You can see my beautiful face, and we're gonna have Zoom meeting, so you can see the artist as well talking. And I think the audio is really it's important, but I think for the YouTube channel especially, the visual it's as well important. People enjoys more podcast with visual, and I wanted to wait until the right moment to do it, even because I think I will get more comfortable now, because I've been doing this for a bit. And yeah, so stay tuned. We're gonna have visual in a bit, and it's gonna be even more fun. No further ado, guys. This was Karen Studio Chat. And for today's episode, we have Karen with us. How you doing, Karen? You okay?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Well, really good, actually. It's freezing outside today.
Yes, same here, yes.
Today temperature.
Just warming up in the studio.
Yeah, it's just cold. Oh, it's so cold.
Yeah, but it's really foggy here. I don't know if it's foggy where you are, but it's very nice to look out the window and see.
Yeah, I live in Bristol actually, so.
Ah.
Yeah, so it's it's always like really cold and rainy.
The best kind of weather.
Yeah, as the rest of the UK.
Yes. It's actually quite sunny usually in Suffolk. We moved from London to Suffolk about 6 years ago, and one of the things that appealed was the fact that it's got sort of the most sun in the country, or one of the areas with the most sun in the country. So although it's very cold, we do often get a lot of sun.
Is that south you?
It's east of England. It's about 2 hours where we are. We're about 2 hours north of London, so it's relatively south, but it's officially classed as east of England. Oh,
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to just introduce yourself, your background a little bit, and so we can start from there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, my background in terms of sort of me as a person, I was born in London. So I've spent most of my life there. I went to school in Switzerland for a few years, but other than that, I was always based in London. And I went to art college in London, but after that, I ended up sort of just moving into a normal career, as I think many people do. I think you get that idea that art can't be a career, and nobody really persuaded me otherwise. So I spent my career so far based in London working in a media monitoring company. And 6 years ago, decided that sort of London it was time to move on. So I moved with my husband out to Suffolk, where we're on the Suffolk-Norfolk border. And he set me up a lovely home studio here. So it meant that I was able to get back into art, which really I'd sort of, for the most part, left behind for quite a few years. So really this year's been the year that I've fully got back into it as full-time as I possibly can. I still have a full-time job, but I am in the studio every day. And thankfully, because it's at home, I can do that. So I work around my job, usually start work quite early in the morning so that I can get up to the art studio later in the day, and then obviously I'm in here all through the weekend.
How do you manage to how do you find it to handle full-time artist and still full-time job?
I mean, it's quite difficult because a lot of the time when I'm doing my day job, I just want to be in the art studio, but at the same time it's a job that sort of, it doesn't clash with what I do art-wise, so it gives me a bit of thinking space, I suppose, from the artwork to be thinking about other things and help me, decide what it is I want to be doing when I next get back in the studio. I'm lucky as well that I work from home and always have done. So that means I don't lose any time in travel. So I get to use every minute of my day as well as I possibly can. And I've always also, since I've lived in Suffolk, been able to work flexibly. So I don't have to be sat there 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, which is incredibly useful. So it means I can sort of use my time as suits me best. So I'm naturally quite a morning person, so I like to get into my office relatively early in the morning, sometimes as early as 6 or 7, which means that I can get into the studio later in the afternoon. So yeah, for me, luckily I managed to make it work. It's a bit harder in the winter because it gets dark, so coming up to the art studio in the afternoon and evening can be a bit miserable. But that aside, thankfully for me it works pretty well. Obviously with time I would love to be able to do less of the day job and more in the art studio, but hopefully over the years I'll be able to accomplish that.
Did you basically work through the whole lockdown and COVID situation like your full-time job?
Yes, again, because I've worked from home since I lived here, my work sort of for my full-time job wasn't really affected, which is fantastic. I mean, we took a small pay cut, the whole company did, but aside from that, I wasn't affected at all. The only thing that I was affected by, which obviously everybody else was too, was my free time. I couldn't go anywhere, but that's really kind of where the art took off. That's where I really got heavily into doing it properly, and after only a month or so I decided to sort of really devote myself to that and see how far I could take it. So that's what the next few years will be, hopefully trying to make it more of a full-time thing. For every artist I talk to, everyone is really kind of like they took advantage of the lockdown situation, so they could produce more and be more like into the whole like art. They produce more art and artworks, so everyone took really advantage of this. Like every artist that I know go really deep into like the producing new artworks, and they really enjoy that. It's kind of an excuse not to have to go out and do anything else. It's an excuse to stay at home or in your studio or wherever it is that you produce at the moment. It's been brilliant for that, but it's also kind of given other options as well. Things like Sky Art's Portrait Artist of the Week online. That's been a brilliant thing to come out of lockdown, which hopefully will kind of continue in the future as well. So stuff like that and Portraits for NHS Heroes. I just think there's been a lot of stuff online and on Instagram that's
it's been a boom of people online. I saw like so many like actual like galleries and exhibition going online. Absolutely. I think across the whole world lots of good things will come out of this situation. Obviously lots of terrible things are coming out of it too, but I think long term some really good stuff will come out of it, and I think for the art world that will be especially true, and I think it will make it a lot easier for people to exhibit now that you have a lot more online stuff. I agree. Even if I did had an online exhibition during the first lockdown, it just didn't feel the same because I was so used to I even actually curated a couple of exhibitions, so I really like the whole be there moment, like living on the moment of the exhibition, which is so like hectic and like so many things are happening at the same time. There are so many people there. It's just different. I think like you just need to see it as a different experience, the online. It's not bad, it's just like a different thing that could put you out there anyway, so it's still a good outcome in the end.
And it means as well when the world gets back to normal, which hopefully it will do one day, and exhibitions are significantly more physical, people will appreciate them more. I think people will, as happens all the time, people appreciate what they don't have when it's gone. So thankfully I think that will happen too. I think people will take more advantage of the opportunity to go to exhibitions.
You mentioned that you went to Switzerland for school. It was like when you were growing up school, like high school, like early
Yes,
school?
yeah, it was high school.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the International School of Geneva. My dad used to work for British Airways when I was a child, and he was offered the opportunity to go move to Geneva and work for IATA, the International Airline Organization. And as part of that, they said that they would pay for mine and my sister's schooling up until university. So it was an opportunity he couldn't really turn down. So yeah, so we moved out there, which was not something I wanted to do to begin with, but I'm really glad that we did.
Did you enjoy the experience?
Yeah, it was very different to being at school in England. It was a lot more informal, which I think suited me really well. It was a school without a uniform, and you knew the teachers' first names. It was, yeah, it was. I was 12 when I moved there. I think it was actually quite a nice age to get used to that way of living rather than being in the school system here.
Yeah, it's weird because I'm from Italy originally, and I grew up with that kind of like school environment. So it was more informal. Like there was no uniform.
Yes.
We stopped wearing uniform when we are like I would say around 10.
Yeah.
And it's from there it's just like your normal clothes. But I see here like kids with uniform and like people with young age teenager with uniform, and I see it like as it looks really nice. So it's like the inverse. It's the inverse thing. I was like sometimes I wish that I had a uniform. It's weird because obviously like it's basically what I don't have, like what I didn't have at the time, and then you're like the same for my experience.
Yes, I suppose I had the benefit then of both, because I had a uniform up until I was 12 and then no uniform after that. So, I mean, I think in some senses it's a good thing to have a uniform, because it means then there's no, you can't tell the difference between a school child with lots of money and one without lots of money. So that's a very, very good thing. But it was nice not to have to wear one when that time came around.
Yeah, and then you said you moved to London to study fine art.
Yes, I came back to England. Well, it was an art college, but it was sixth form college, so it wasn't university. It was when I was, what age is that? Is that 16? Yeah, it must be. Yes, 16. I had the opportunity to either stay in Switzerland and do the equivalent of A levels there, the International Baccalaureate, or come back to England and do A levels. And coming back to England meant I could actually focus on art. So I had a look around at various different art colleges, and I ended up choosing, it was called Fine Arts College at the time in Belsize Park. I think it's called Hampstead Fine Arts now. So I went there to study. It was normal A levels, but the big focus was on art, which was it's a fantastic place to be.
Did you do any university after, or is it just you jumped into it?
I didn't know. I thought about it, but I mean, I sort of wish my tutors at college had pushed me to do it. I was very stubborn and thought I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that. I was very big on not going to university to do something that you're not going to then do as a career, and I didn't think there was a career in art, and I wish they'd sort of told me there was, and I wish they'd pushed me to go. That they agreed with my decision and said I probably wouldn't like a foundation course. They thought I was quite clear of what I wanted to do, and that I wouldn't enjoy doing all the other things that go with a foundation course. But I do now wish they had not said that and they'd pushed me to go. But equally, if they had pushed me to go, I might have hated it. So I don't think it really matters how long it takes you to come back to art. At least I have finally come back.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened to me, because I started my art studying like later on. So it was literally like 4 years ago. I finished university last year, and I'm 28. So basically I think it's really good. Like I didn't go into university before when I was like really young, because I wouldn't really enjoy it. I wouldn't really focus my studies, and I decided to go to college and go to university. It was my decision, and I was really sure of that. And so that's why I think I got
more out of it.
Yeah, I got more out of it. Yeah, I was really focused, and that's what I wanted to do. I was there for like learning and
not just because it's what everybody does. I've always really believed in that, and that's why I didn't want to go at the time. And I think because my mum went to university when she was in her 40s, that always made me think, well, I can go when it's the right time. Don't just go for the sake of it. So yeah, I still believe that. Who knows? Maybe I'll go one day.
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit of your practice, because you do portrait mostly.
Yes. Yeah. Pretty much entirely portraits. Which has kind of always been the case. I've never really much enjoyed doing anything other than people. It's people that fascinate me. I'm really, really interested in human behaviour, and I'm really interested in portraits, in the idea of sometimes art as propaganda, and the idea of what your sitter is hoping that you'll sort of show of them. You know, whether you look back at historical portraits like Holbein, who, you know, the Henry VIII portrait is a perfect example, where he had to present a particular image of the king, or you know, comparing that to much more intimate portraits where you are really genuinely seeing the real person. So yeah, people fascinate me. I'm really interested to sort of wonder whether you're looking at a real person, how much of an idea of themselves they're presenting to you. I mean, that's in life as well as in art, but yeah, so
Yeah.
pretty much entirely people.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's the same. I don't find anything else than people. I'm really interested in drawing and painting people, and I try so many times to do landscape, and still life I still enjoy a little bit more, but it's not the same. I don't feel that kind of connection, that kind of understanding what's going on in their mind while I'm drawing it. It's
exactly, yeah, you have to be interested in what you're seeing.
And how do you usually approach your artwork, is that drawing, paintings?
How do you mean, how do I normally approach?
How do you find your subject? So what are you interested in finding into your subject, and why do you choose that subject, for example?
I suppose finding subjects is a little bit hard at the moment because you can't really find physical people. I do a fair few self-portraits, and I keep on drawing and painting my husband, who thankfully doesn't seem to mind that. And then beyond that, I have to find pictures online. So I use Sketchy a lot, and then just general portraits of photographs of people. I'm really, really looking forward to the world getting back to normal in terms of being able to find more actual real sitters. I'm lucky where I live. I live in a small town it's a very small town. It looks like a village, but it is a town. And I have quite a few friends here who I think when things are normal, I can approach to sit for me without any real need to travel. So I'm really looking forward to that. But otherwise, other than me and my husband at the moment, I'm just looking for either people I find fascinating. So, for instance, I recently drew Trump, who obviously not everybody likes. I don't like him, but I find him fascinating as a human being.
I understand.
I can't imagine what turned somebody into somebody like that. And I find his face particularly fascinating because I'm really interested in the idea of people's faces and what made them look like that. I think the kind of person that he is inside is written all over his face. So I wanted to draw him, although I was sort of put off for a very long time because I didn't know how people would feel about seeing a drawing of him, but it thankfully went down relatively well on Instagram. So sometimes I draw people because I'm fascinated by sort of what's behind them, and sometimes just because I really like them, and sometimes just because I think the photograph that I found is particularly brilliant, and so I'll draw it. But I think with time, when I'm able to get into the real world, that will probably change.
Do you choose the subject because obviously like the history, and if you kind of know the person, is that better for you, for your drawings?
I think it probably is. I didn't really realise that to begin with, but I think the more different types of people I draw, the more I do find them easier if I know them. I mean, doing my husband, I find brilliantly easy. But even things like doing Portrait Artist of the Week, they have a different celebrity sitter each week, and sometimes I know them and sometimes I don't. And I think I do find it's easier to capture them when I know them. So recently, the last couple of weeks, Russell Tovey was last Sunday, a British actor, and the Sunday before was Floella Benjamin, who was a childhood hero of mine. And I found those brilliant to do, and I found it really, really easy to capture their likeness. So I think, just knowing their face really well helps. And obviously liking them, I think, probably helps.
Yeah, I'm really similar in that. If I know the person, I will find a kind of connection, or if I don't, I try to know them as much as I can, because I think I can just express more what I see in them and my emotion about them, and like I will put it on paper or on canvas like much easier.
Yes.
So, for example, I was doing a series of like immigrants that lives in Bristol, and I most of them are my friend, because that's what happens, that when you're not from the place, you just end up knowing so many people that are not from the place where you're living. So most of them, like, I knew them, but some of them I didn't. So I decided to do interview for all of them, so I could connect better when I was, so I would relate to when I was drawing. So I found that connection. If I know the person, it's better for the whole outcome of the art piece.
Yeah, and that's what I'm really looking forward to in terms of sort of post COVID, being able to spend more time with the people that I'm drawing in the same room as them, talking to them, even though presumably a lot of them will be people I already know. Still, just the act of sort of, that's what I love about the Portrait Artist of the Week thing online, that even, you know, you're not in the room with that sitter, you're with them for 4 hours hearing them talk, and it does make a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. So when because I saw your drawings on Instagram, that's how I contact you, and that's how I found out about you. And they're really delicate. I found them really precious. So that's the first thing that comes into my mind, like because I don't know, there is that delicacy on the touch on the drawings that's just exquisite. Like the quality of the marks, they are so fun, and they're really interesting on, because nowadays I see a lot of like work that that could be described as like rough looking, like it's more like really how can I say, like like rough, so like not really defined and still like beautiful, but that's more what is easy to see, especially online. And when I saw your like drawings like that, it's something like really refreshing. I don't think it's really easy to find your kind of drawings around, because I think they're really kind of unique. I will say, I really enjoy, especially the contrast with the colors that you have, because you choose like really few colors for your drawings, and it just like makes the whole drawings pops, and it's really clever. And
thank you.
Yeah,
it's funny, a lot of people say it's clever, which that's obviously a brilliant compliment, but I hadn't really registered that anything I was doing was clever. It was just quite natural to me.
Yeah, it's about the color. Is like, do you choose a specific color for what the person feels like, or?
I think I do, yeah. For instance, whenever it's Portrait Artist of the Week, I never choose the colour paper until I've seen the sitter. And then over the course of that, I then start choosing which colours I will use, or if any. Sometimes I don't use any. But this week, listening to Russell Tovey talk on Portrait Artist of the Week, he was talking about how when he first started collecting art, he was interested in pop art, and he'd got to pop art easily because he used to like cartoons. And he was talking about Liechtenstein, and I thought, well, I think I'll use a Liechtenstein palette. So the only colours I used were yellow, red, and blue.
Yeah, like,
and that was
really
because
popping,
of what he'd been saying, and I hadn't kind of decided that at the very beginning. Whereas then in other instances, it will just be something about, I don't know, the sort of an aura somebody gives off that maybe gives me an idea for a colour. But other times it maybe just is because I think yellow goes nicely with blue.
Does it happen that often for you, like to improvising like your style of drawings while you're drawing, like making those decisions?
Yeah, it all gets made up as I go along. I suppose the general style is there now. Well, it's there for now. Who knows what it will become over the months and years. But what I'm doing now has just sort of happened organically. And then when I do a piece, although I've got a rough idea of how I want it to turn out, I don't plan it, and it doesn't necessarily turn out it doesn't necessarily go in the direction I thought it was going to go in. I tend to just let it happen, and that's something I really like doing. I like just starting to draw and then seeing what happens.
It's how did he change over time your practice? Did he evolve in a certain sense, or is it stay?
Yeah, I think he got. Well, I mean, for a start, I didn't ever used to draw. When I used to do art before sort of this year, it was all oil painting. But I got really tired of how I just think my style wasn't suiting me. It was too tight. And I wanted to be a lot looser, and I thought, well, why don't I go back to drawing and develop that and then come back to painting? And I just haven't really gone back to painting yet. I will do at some point, hopefully, but this year really has been all about drawing. And I think just over time I've developed the style, and it's very precise. I am really methodical as a person, so I don't like to, I sort of generally in life try to do everything in the least moves possible. I'm quite lazy, so I don't like to go backwards and forwards from room to room. I'll carry everything I can in one go. So, and I sort of draw in a similar way. I don't want any unnecessary marks. I sort of want to capture the person with as few lines as possible. And everything I do intentionally. So, so when you were describing sort of a rough drawing, I see things like that and I love them. I think they're beautiful, but I couldn't do it. To me, it's too busy. And that makes me sort of feel quite stressed. I find it really stress relieving to be very neat and ordered, and that's sort of how I'm doing things. It's almost like when I look at a face, I'm trying to rationalize it in my head and reorder it on the page and group parts of the face into sort of shapes. And that's where it's come from, and that's just sort of happened over time. And I think probably the shapes are getting less blocky and it's getting a little bit more delicate, so who knows what will happen. But at the moment it feels very natural.
How do you see evolving your practice? Do you see going to painting again, or
I definitely hope so.
I
think the next thing I want to do is start getting bigger, which I'm hoping to start doing. In fact, this afternoon I've got some really large paper, so I want to whereas everything I've been doing has been focusing on the face. I want to start trying to do some full body pieces. So I'm going to practice with that over the next few weeks. I've got some photos already that my husband has posed for me, and he's taken some of me as well. I mean, we're in clothes. They are normal clothes poses. I want to sort of experiment with that and just see what happens. I've got no idea how I will do the figure. Will the figure look exactly the same as the face, or will there be less detail, or will there be more detail? I've got no idea. So I just want to see what happens naturally with that. And then eventually I definitely do want to go back to painting, but with no idea what that will mean. I don't want to paint the way I used to paint because it was too busy for me. I want to be looser, but I also want it to somehow look like my drawings. So we'll see what that turns into.
I can see your drawings going bigger and look pretty good, to be honest, for the style that you have. I think they will be so powerful because they will still like impressive as they're big, but still really delicate because of your style. And I think the contrast will be really cool to see how they'll turn up. It's I'm really similar because so basically for example for the series that I was doing, the immigrants, I consider myself more as a painter than a drawer, but because of the series I literally stopped painting for couple of years, for 2 years, because it was all drawings and it was all charcoal and ink. So, and they were really, how can I say, like realistic, like really clean, polished kind of drawings. And what I'm doing right now, it's completely the opposite. So I jumped back into painting, and I'm doing more like a loose, abstract-ish painting. They're still like you can see like it's kind of, like you can still see the figure. It's a realistic painting, but it's more like unfinished, so you can see the whole layer, the whole drawings underneath the painting. So it's not a polished painting. And I did that to like see what this process will bring me to. Because I think it's just like jump into my uncomfortable zone, like push myself, try to find out what I can do if I'm not following a style that I'm really sure. I'm really sure that I can do. So just to see what's
brilliant,
how it's gonna evolve after that.
Yes,
I think
that's the fun bit.
Yeah, my goal is kind of like try to make them together, try to mix them together. So have like a polished painting, but with an abstract touch. I don't know how to I don't know how to describe, to be honest, but kind of like what I'm going for in the end.
Brilliant.
And what is who are your biggest influence? Do you really see like art history? So do you have any biggest influence as like artists that you're looking up?
Yeah, I do, and probably my two biggest ones are completely different to each other. I absolutely love Lucian Freud.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
always been my favourite. And when I painted before, I was definitely inspired by the colours that he would use, and my flesh colours would be quite blue. But then I also absolutely love Holbein. He's probably my other favourite. And they're obviously totally different styles and totally different ideas going on in them. I think probably one of the things that, other than the look, one of the things that I love about Freud is how intimate his paintings are. And given the process that he had his sitters go through, I imagine that where I'm interested in sitters sort of presenting a particular idea of themselves, I don't imagine they could present anything other than who they really were, because he would have them pose for hours on end, for weeks, months, I think in some instances years, for one painting. So I don't think you can pretend to be anything other than yourself in those. So I really love the intimacy of that. Whereas Holbein, I think because of the time he was painting in and the people that he was painting, he's probably the opposite. So again, you have people like Henry VIII who hired him to give off a particular, that was absolutely definitely portraiture as propaganda, send an image of who he was. And I think his most famous painting, sort of the big, broad Henry VIII, at that point, I think he was already quite unwell and probably didn't really look like that at all. But I love Holbein's drawings especially. I think they're absolutely beautiful. So so many different, I think always portrait artists, those are my favourites. And I used to love going to the National Portrait Gallery in London and everything in there. But yeah, I think probably Holbein and Freud are my two favourites. Plus Jenny Savile as well, another sort of, more in the Lucian Freud vein.
Do you like to start your drawings, sketching on like sitting with a sitter, or do you prefer a photo?
Well, at the moment, everything is photo.
Yeah, I guess so.
But when we're not in this situation, then yeah, I think I would like to do more. I think I will always want a still photo to sort of finish off, but I would like to begin the process face to face. Probably at least sort of working out the composition, or sort of choosing which, what is it I'm going to end up producing. But I will definitely be taking photos as well, because I quite like to sort of sit quietly and concentrate without a sitter there.
I'm wondering, I ask this to every artist that I interview, and why art? Why do you choose art to as a profession, and what did it draw it to art for you?
I don't know. I think it was just always there. It was just always a thing. I remember being very little and being able to draw. And I remember being at school when I don't know how old, 4 or 5 even, and teachers sort of being quite surprised at how well I drew. So you therefore think, oh, well, I'm good at this. And as a person, I quite like being good at things. I don't tend to get really involved in anything I can't do relatively well. So one of the reasons for art, I suppose, is that I can do it. But it feels like a home, it just feels, how some people are very naturally attracted to certain things, and I just am naturally attracted to, well, anything creative, whether it's pieces of visual art or music or the written word, or just that's sort of where I am, if you know what I mean. But then I didn't ever choose it as a career, because I didn't believe it could be. I thought either you don't make money from it, if you do, you're either a starving artist, which is what my uncle was, or you have to be really commercial and sell out, and I didn't want to do that. Whereas obviously that's not true at all. You can be what you want to be, and I think even more so now. I think the world has changed hugely in terms of the ability to sort of be the artist that you want to be, and you don't have to get gallery representation, and you don't have to come from a particular background. I think that's all getting much, much easier. But yeah, I think I wish I'd been born more recently, so I could have gone into art from a younger age, as the world is now.
Yeah, it's still like all your experience, all your journey it comes out on your art
true.
Anyway. So I think it's really important, like it reflects on what you've been through as a person, and then it becomes your art.
That's true. And I think as well, coming back to it later means it was obviously sort of meant to be. You know, if I'd just done it straight from school, maybe I would have done it just because I thought I was good at it. Whereas I think coming back now and thinking, actually, I'm going to put a lot of time and effort into this, that's a really, you know, an actual real decision that I've made. And I don't have to do that. I've got a job and I could just carry on doing what I do. So yeah, maybe it's better this way. Maybe I'll appreciate it more.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think the whole... it's all about, it's not, I wouldn't say destiny, but it all happens at the right time, at the right place, I would say.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's what attracts you about art, is the creativity part of, because you said you liked as well, like for example, anything creativity like music and stuff like that. It's more like the kind of freedom that will give it to you.
Yeah, and I think just sort of finding out what you can produce, not knowing what will come out when you sit down in the art studio and you pick up a pencil, not knowing what will be the end result. Because I play the piano, not necessarily brilliantly, but I play the piano and I purposefully, apart from one piece, have never learned to play a piece. I just sight read because I just really enjoy putting down a piece of music and not knowing what will come out and just starting to play it and thinking, oh, that's what it sounds like. So I think to see drawing in the same way and painting, that I'll just turn up and we'll see what there is at the end of the day.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Actually, to see it like that, it's it's a lovely thing to see as like just basically let out your feelings and what you feel like at the moment and translating your art or is on your music.
I like it when it's surprising, particularly when it's good surprising. Sometimes it's surprising and it goes in the bin. And sometimes it's surprising and it's just okay, and other days I absolutely love what I've produced, which is brilliant. That's really exciting to be able to walk away at the end of the day, and I go back into the house with what I've done and I show it to my husband and we both get really excited, and that's really nice.
Yeah, but we don't talk about the one they go into the bin.
No. In fact, none of them go in the bin for me. They go onto a different pile in the cupboard, and then I use them just to sort of compare colours on the type of paper and that sort of thing. So they all become scrap.
You still kind of saving up and like reflecting on them.
Yeah, I suppose, although when they're really bad, I don't really want to look at the actual piece. I just use the corner of the paper to work out whether that blue goes well with that.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. Waste not, want not.
Thank you very much, Karen,
No problem at all.
to be part of the podcast. It was a pleasure to speak with you, and
it's been brilliant talking to you.
Love your art, and
thank you so much.
I'll definitely carry on supporting.
Thank you.
That's my pleasure, really. Your drawings, I'm really into drawings, and I love drawings, and I think one of like your drawings, your style, your just how you produce your art, it's something really cool. There is nothing else to say. Literally, I really like them. It's especially like the delicacy, as I said before, and they're really kind of clever how they've done. Really like them.
Fabulous. Thank you very much.
Again, thank you very much for your time.
No problem at all. Really good talking to you.
I will put a link in the description for you guys to go and follow Karen on Instagram and support the artist, support the channel. Don't forget to subscribe, to like the video. It really helps the channel to grow, and I can't wait to interview more artists, and a bigger number, big followers will help me to contact people. So please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with everyone that you know, that you might know, they will enjoy two artists talking. And thank you very much again, guys. From the Artful Podcast, I'm out.